All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into something pretty interesting. It's all about caring.
Caring.
Yeah, and you might be thinking like, okay, caring, but we're actually going to be looking to a WikiHow article.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
I know, right? Like WikiHow for caring. But trust me on this one. There's some surprisingly insightful stuff in this article.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious to hear this. It's not the first place I would think to look for, advice on something like caring.
Exactly. Like you'd think it'd be all surface level, but it actually gets into like the nitty-gritty of like how to actually be a more caring person.
Okay. Well, you've definitely piqued my interest.
Good. So like right off the bat, the article makes this point that caring isn't just about, feelings. It's about taking action.
Yeah. Like actually doing stuff, not just thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And they talk about like doing favors for others.
Oh, right. Like actually like taking the time to help someone out.
Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to get caught up in our own lives and be like, oh, I should really do something nice for so-and-so.
Yeah, but then life gets in the way.
Right. But this article is like, no, like actually follow through on those thoughts.
I like that. It's very action-oriented.
It is. And there's a reason for that. Like psychologists talk about this thing called the reciprocity principle.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one.
So basically it's this idea that when you do something for someone, it kind of creates this like almost subconscious obligation for them to do something for you in return.
Oh, interesting. Like it strengthens the bond between people.
Exactly. And it's something that like just having good intentions doesn't really achieve.
You're right. It's like that saying, actions speak louder than words.
Totally. So maybe those little favors and acts of service are actually like the foundation of building trust and connection with people.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. And the article goes even deeper. It talks about like the importance of paying attention to the specific needs of the person you're trying to care for.
Oh, so it's not like a one-size-fits-all approach to caring.
Nope. It's about recognizing that everyone's different and what makes one person feel cared for might not do it for someone else.
Yeah, it's like that whole love languages thing.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Like some people need words of affirmation, others need acts of service, gifts, quality time, physical touch,
Totally. And I think the WikiHow article is kind of getting at that. Like it's saying, be observant, pay attention to the signals the other person is giving you.
Pick up on what actually makes them feel loved and valued.
Okay, so we've talked about the action side of caring. But the article also goes into the more emotional side of things, specifically empathy.
Oh, empathy. Yeah, that's huge.
Right? And they really emphasize being sensitive to how your actions affect other people.
Which can be tough sometimes because we're all kind of wrapped up in our own heads.
Yeah, for sure. But it's so important to try to step outside of your own experience and see things from the other person's perspective.
Right. It's about recognizing that your actions can have unintended consequences.
Have you ever, like, tried to help someone, but it ended up backfiring?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's a good reminder that even with the best intentions, we can sometimes make things worse.
Totally. And that's why empathy is so crucial. It's about putting the other person's needs first.
And being aware of how our actions might make them feel.
There's this one piece of advice from the article that really stuck with me. It says, to avoid saying, I know exactly how you feel.
Oh, yeah. Why is that?
Because even if you've been through something similar, everyone processes things differently.
Right. So saying that can actually make the other person feel like you're dismissing their experience.
Exactly. It's like you're minimizing their feelings, even if you don't mean to.
So what's a better way to show empathy then, if you can't say that?
Well, the article suggests focusing on active listening.
Active listening. Okay, so that's like really tuning in to what the other person is saying.
It's about more than just nodding and saying, uh-huh. It's about making eye contact, putting away your phone, and really being present in the moment.
And not interrupting with your own stories or advice.
Yeah, sometimes the most caring thing you can do is just listen and let the person feel heard.
Right. Create that safe space for them to open up.
You know, it's funny. The article actually talks about politeness as a form of caring.
Politeness, really?
Yeah, but when you think about it, it makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it's about treating people with respect, making them feel comfortable.
Exactly, like holding the door open for someone, offering a genuine compliment, making eye contact. All those little things can actually communicate that you care.
Huh. It's almost like politeness is a way of showing that you value the other person.
I think so. It's about acknowledging their presence and making them feel seen.
And that can go a long way in making someone feel cared for.
Absolutely. It's those small gestures that can sometimes have the biggest impact.
Yeah, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. It's like caring is this multifaceted thing. It's about actions and empathy and even just basic politeness.
Exactly. It's not just one thing. It's a whole way of being.
I'm really liking this deep dive. This is fascinating stuff.
Me too. And we're just getting started. There's so much more to unpack in this WikiHow article.
All right, well, I'm ready for more.
Let's do it.
And it all comes back to that, like, sense of connection, like recognizing that everyone deserves to feel cared for.
Yeah. And speaking of feeling cared for, the article also talks about the importance of affection, like physical touch.
Oh.
I know, right? It's not something you'd necessarily think of, but they make this point that like a hug or a touch on the arm can be so powerful.
Yeah, especially when words are hard to come by.
Exactly. Like sometimes a hug just says it all.
There's science behind that, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, studies have shown that hugs can release endorphins and lower cortisol levels.
Whoa. So it's like biologically proven to make you feel better.
Pretty much. It creates that sense of calm and well-being.
So like a hug is basically a shortcut to feeling cared for.
I guess you could say that. And the article says it doesn't have to be some big display of affection either.
Oh, yeah.
Like even a pat on the back or a quick squeeze of the arm can convey a lot.
I like that. It's those small gestures that can sometimes mean the most.
Exactly. It's about being intentional with your touch.
Something else that stood out to me was the connection the article makes between generosity and consideration.
Oh, how so?
Well, it's like generosity is about giving your time and resources freely, but real generosity also involves being considerate of the other person's needs.
That's interesting. Can you give me an example?
Yeah, like say you want to bring someone flowers. That's a generous gesture, right? But if you know they're allergic to lilies, then it becomes kind of thoughtless.
Right. So it's not just about the act itself, it's about the thought behind it.
Exactly. And the article gives some good advice on how to be more considerate.
Like what?
Well, one thing they suggest is to ask yourself, how would I want to be treated in this situation?
Oh, that's a good one. It forces you to step outside your own perspective.
And it can apply to so many different scenarios, like figuring out chores with your roommate or having a tough conversation with a coworker.
Right. It's about putting yourself in the other person's shoes.
And speaking of extending care beyond our immediate circle, the article also talks about volunteering and giving back to the community.
Oh, yeah. That's important, too.
It is. It's like taking that caring mindset and applying it on a larger scale.
So it's not just about caring for the people you know. It's about caring for your community as a whole.
Exactly. And the article emphasizes that it doesn't have to be a huge commitment.
Yeah. Even small acts of service can make a difference.
Like donating to a food bank or helping out at a senior center.
It's about doing what you can when you can.
Right. And there's actually a selfish reason to volunteer, too.
Oh, what's that?
Well, apparently volunteering has been shown to improve your own well-being.
Really? Like it can make you happier?
Yeah, and less stressed. It's like this weird feedback loop where caring for others actually ends up benefiting you, too.
Wow. So it's a win-win situation.
I think so. It's like caring is contagious. The more you give, the more you get back.
So looking back at everything we've talked about, it seems like caring isn't about some grand gesture.
It's about those little everyday actions.
Yeah, the consistent effort to show empathy, generosity, and consideration.
And it's about being mindful of how our actions affect others.
It's about making that conscious choice to approach every interaction with intention and awareness.
Wow, that's a powerful thought.
It really is, because every interaction, no matter how small, has the potential to either strengthen or weaken those bonds of human connection.
So it's like we have this responsibility to be more mindful of how we treat each other.
Absolutely. And the more we choose to care, the more we create a world where care is the norm, not the exception.
That's beautiful. It makes me wonder, though, what are some practical ways to bring more intentionality into our daily lives?
Well, the article has a suggestion. It says to start paying attention to those little moments throughout the day where you have a chance to show care.
Okay, like what?
Like maybe you compliment a coworker on their outfit or hold the door open for someone.
Or send a thoughtful text to a friend who's going through a tough time.
Yeah, things like that. It's not about waiting for a special occasion to show you care.
It's about integrating it into your everyday life.
Exactly. Shifting the mindset from I should do something nice to how can I make this interaction more caring?
I love that. It's like a challenge to find those little moments of connection throughout the day.
And those small acts can have a ripple effect. Like when we treat people with care, it inspires them to do the same.
So it's like we're creating a more positive and supportive environment for everyone.
Exactly. And it's not just about making others feel good.
It's about making everyone feel seen and valued.
And connected, like we're all in this together.
This deep dive has really got me thinking about the power of intentionality. Like, we have this choice every day to either add to the world's reservoir of care or to deplete it.
And the more we choose to add to it, the more we create a world where care is just the way things are.
That's a beautiful thought. It's like we're planting seeds of kindness and compassion. and they have the potential to grow into something much bigger than ourselves.
It's about building a legacy of care, something that lasts beyond our own lifetimes.
Well said. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the surprisingly complex world of caring.
All thanks to a WikiHow article.
But before we wrap up, we wanted to leave you with one final question to think about. So as you go about your day today, what's one small but meaningful act of care you can kind of weave into your interactions?
It could be something as simple as really listening to a friend when they're venting about their day, without jumping in with advice.
Oh, that's a good one. Or maybe surprising your partner with their favorite takeout after they've had a long week.
Yeah. Or what about finally offering to help that elderly neighbor with their groceries? The one you've been meaning to help out for ages.
Oh, that's perfect. See, the possibilities are endless.
Right. The important thing is to approach each interaction with that intentionality we were talking about. Like, see those everyday moments as chances to strengthen those connections with the people around you.
Because even the tiniest acts of care, they can have this ripple effect,
Oh, absolutely. They can impact not only the person you're directly interacting with, but also yourself and the community as a whole.
So it's like we all have this power to make the world a little bit brighter, a little bit kinder.
Just by choosing to care.
Well said. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the surprisingly profound world of caring, all inspired by a simple WikiHow article.
Who knew?
Right? We hope you've come away with some practical takeaways and maybe a fresh perspective on just how much power we each have to make a positive impact.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep caring.